Hello, my name is Jessica Wade, and I'm a realtor with Brokerage Atlanta. And people often ask me, do I need a real estate agent to buy and sell a home? The answer is no, you really don't need one. However, I'm going to go over the pros and cons to using a realtor as you would go through your transaction. And at the end, I'm going to tell a story of somebody who chose not to use a realtor and what happened to them. So here are some pros and cons to going through the transaction without a real estate agent. One of the pros, and it's the one that most people think, is that they're going to be able to save money if they don't use a realtor. But I want you to know that's not always the case. You may spend lots of more money trying to get around spending money and learning lessons the hard way that I've already learned and that I will already be prepared for. So just know that even though you think you might be saving money, you may not be. Something that people don't understand is that the state of Georgia is an attorney state. And what that means is you have to use a closing attorney to close the purchase or sale of a home in our state. If you don't have the proper documents in place, you're going to need to retain an attorney to create those documents. I already have access to all the documents that are provided by the Georgia Association of Realtors, and I pay a yearly fee to have these documents. They are in place to protect you, the consumer, and I'm able to use these. Where if you're not using a realtor in your process, you're not able to use those documents and you'll be needing to have those drafted by an attorney and paying for those costs up front. Another con that people think is they don't want to pay real estate commissions, especially sellers. They just think that it's not worth it. But I want to tell you, I have a strong negotiation skill. I know what to look for when we receive an offer. Right now, with as crazy as the market is, I'm looking strongly at finance contingencies and appraisal contingencies. And these are items that the common person who buys and sells homes just a few times in their lifetime aren't going to see. This is something that I'm doing each and every day, and I have my systems in place ready to go to protect you and to protect typically your largest asset. Another item that people think if they don't use a realtor is when they're purchasing a home, they're going to get a better deal on that property versus if they have a realtor representing them. Again, you are typically purchasing your largest investment, and I want to make sure you are protected, and I want to make sure you're not overpaying for that property. So even though you think you may be getting a better deal from the seller, what happens if the seller hasn't disclosed a major defect with the property? What happens if you need to hire an inspector and you're not sure who to use? What happens if you put down non-refundable earnest money and your financing doesn't come through? All of these are hurdles that I'm going to be prepared for and that I'm going to use to protect you and your assets. A few pros to using a realtor and using someone like me to help you walk through the home buying and home selling process. I do have a license from the Georgia Real Estate Commission. I went through my pre-licensing classes. I've taken the state test, and I do hold a valid license in the state of Georgia. I also am a member of the Georgia Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors. I have several designations that I have completed through the National Association of Realtors. I have my Senior Real Estate Specialist designation, my Commitment to Excellent designation, my ePro designation. Being able to protect my clients is of highest priority and importance to me, and going through these additional training classes and holding these additional designations really helps me protect you at the highest level possible. I am constantly looking for the what ifs as you embark on your transaction, and I'm going to be able to help you get over those hurdles as we approach them. And there may be hurdles that you didn't even know existed that I'm fixing in the background before you even know that they're there, and you may never know that they were there. But because of my proven track record and my systems and the hundreds of transactions that I have been involved in, I know to expect the unexpected, and I know how to make it as painless for you to get to that finish line. So those are some reasons I think you should use a realtor and why you should specifically use me as your realtor. I want to share with you a story that recently happened to me and to some of my clients. And I want you guys to just see that real estate agents, we're not just showing houses. People say they want to be a realtor because they like to look at houses, but there's so much more to that. And let me tell you about this horror story. So, individual called me, he gave me his address, and I looked it up on the tax records. And he said, yeah, the tax records appear to be wrong, but just when you come out to the property, this is the house that you need to look for. So I went out to the property and drove past it twice actually, because it didn't make sense that this was the address for this particular property. I pulled in the driveway, I went inside, I pulled up my app that tells me where the property lines are. And as I was standing in the driveway trying to determine property lines, I realized this was not adding up. I went back to my office and looked up the tax records and determined that this individual actually purchased the home next door. And it's a very unique situation, and it took me hours of digging through deeds, plats, surveys, everything that had been filed with the county to determine what had happened. I have spent time talking to the Hall County Tax Assessor's Office, talking to planning and zoning, talking to the deed office, talking to closing attorneys and real estate attorneys, trying to fix what happened. So this is something that as a real estate agent, we are prepared to know. We want to make sure that when you sit at that closing table, you know which property you are purchasing 100% of the time. I do not want this to happen to any of my clients where you get ready to sell your property and you are unable to sell because you purchased the house next door. So I hope I've made it clear that you don't have to have a real estate professional to go through the home buying and home selling process, but I want you to know you owe yourself the opportunity to interview with a realtor and understand where they're coming from. I can tell you from me, I am passionate about protecting my clients and protecting their assets and getting them through to the finish line as seamlessly and as easily as possible. And I would be honored to sit down and talk to you and explain my value and what I can bring to you and your transaction.